Today I made the decision that it was the best thing for our country, for the American people, that I not continue to be considered by the President for nomination as Secretary of State, because I didn't want to see a confirmation process that was very prolonged, very politicized.
Ambassador Susan Rice telling NBC's Brian Williams on Rock Center why she's withdrawing her name for Secretary of State. It's a defeat for her and for her boss, President Obama. Let's get to Battleground America. Joining me now is Democratic strategist Marjorie Clifton and Margaret Hoover, CNN political contributor and Republican consultant. Welcome to you both.
Thanks for having us.
Let me start with you, Margaret Hoover. This will be seen as a big win for the old guard Republicans. I interviewed the three amigos, as they call themselves, this week, but I'm sure Senators McCain and Graham will sleep easy tonight knowing they've seen off the challenge from Susan Rice. Are they right to be pleased about this?
I don't know for them if it's as much personally about her or if it's about Benghazi. And what you noticed all three of them did immediately today is make statements saying, we will not stop the scrutiny on Benghazi. And what her withdrawal does is stop the scrutiny, or at least the headlines of Benghazi.
There is a theory that she's basically fallen on her sword because there's going to have to be a resignation linked to Benghazi at some stage, and now they can say, you've had it, you've had the scalp.
It certainly won't be her, but remember that the foundation really started to crumble on this when the left stopped supporting Susan Rice. So as much as the three amigos were out in front, Maureen Dowd had critical reviews of her in the New York Times. Ezra Klein from the Washington Post. The environmentalist movement started having problems with her.
That is true. I mean, Marjorie Clifton, that is true, and I detected that. There was also a sense that when she went up there to see the three amigos and others, she really emerged looking quite weakened, as if she'd got into an obvious trap and, you know, been lassoed all over again. It just didn't look very smart politics by her.
Well, no, I think she took one for the team. I mean, the problem is that the entire situation has become highly politicized. And frankly, Giuliani saying that she may not have been sharp enough to be able to deduct the right intelligence measures out of the talking points she's given is wholly unfair. And I think it really is a tragedy because she really, I would say, is the best woman for the job. She was a trusted advisor to the president, and she has done more in terms of putting sanctions against Iran, North Korea in her capacity as ambassador, is truly a woman who understands 21st century diplomacy and national security. And what she did was go and read talking points given to her by the national security staff and did her job. Had she gone in and asserted her own opinions, it would have been seen as playing politics, which would have been out of place.
Okay,
so I think,
Margaret, I mean, whether she's the best person for the job, I think is a fairly arguable point. I mean, I don't think she's been massively impressive in the last few months. She may not have lied, may not have misled the public deliberately, but not massively impressive. John Kerry, I would say, is probably a better candidate, just from my dispassionate eye.
He probably wouldn't have made the same mistake that she made. I mean, she perhaps, I think Senator Clinton probably said it best when she actually made every indication that she favors John Kerry for the position, not Secretary Rice. He is widely respected in Washington, whether you like his foreign policy or not. It's the head of the Foreign Affairs Committee for years and years and years. So I do think he probably does have more experience. I mean, not to knock Susan Rice's experience, certainly. I can't imagine that Senator McCain is going to be thrilled with the foreign policy that John Kerry runs any better than Susan Rice. It was the handling of this and the handling of the administration with Benghazi that this became the symbol of.
Let's also move to this rather difficult situation the President now finds himself in, where the top 4 cabinet positions, Marjorie Clifton, could all be filled by men, it now seems. No women there at all. That's not great for a progressive president like Barack Obama, is it?
Yeah, no, I don't have a lot of good things to say about that prospect. I mean, I think the thing is there is a deep enough bench of fabulous women that could fill these roles, and we sure would like to see them hold those positions. I mean, Susan Rice, I think, is not just the best woman for the job. I thought she was the best person for the job. And in terms of John Kerry being a safe choice, he's vanilla, and vanilla is always a safe flavor, right? You know? But I mean, I would say absolutely. I think it's something to think about in terms of, you know, I think it's good to have the right person for the job always, but I think it's worth checking out the prospects for sure.
Let's turn to the fiscal cliff, the frank meeting between President Obama and John Boehner. I presume they just call each other names for 50 minutes and walk out with no deal being done. But let's look at also footage today from the Ukraine Parliament, because just when you think Washington is the worst in the world at doing stuff together, look at these clowns. This is quite amazing. This is the Ukraine Parliament erupting into open physical warfare. Now, there is a view, it's an old-fashioned view, maybe stirred by the British, that a good old punch-up does tend to resolve these things. Maybe John Boehner and Barack Obama should just square off, get in a ring, slug each other out.
The best part is this isn't even the first time this has happened. I mean, this happens all the time in Ukraine. I've seen you a couple of years ago with the same thing happening. So
it's like watching the British Parliament. Yeah, I mean, it's far more interesting and far more fun when you can throw a little humor and throw a few punches, and maybe that's what they need to get it out of their systems.
What I like about the British, though, is you have rhetorical flourishes and rhetorical punches that really do top Americans' Congress.
On a vaguely serious point, though, Margaret, I mean, let me ask Margaret quickly first, and then you, Marjorie. Are we going to get a deal done before Christmas? I mean, all the hints I'm getting are, yes, it's going to be a deal. We're just working over the final detail.
I think we're going to get a deal, and I think the question is, how heavily scorned is John Boehner, and how much does that hurt Barack Obama's momentum going into the first part of the next deal? Because he wants to get immigration done in January and February.
Yeah.
And if he's got an impending debt ceiling debate that he's going to have to deal with instead, that will put real momentum into it. So what is he going to give Boehner that allows Boehner to have a semblance of dignity to go back to his conference?
Yeah, and Marjorie Clifton, I mean, if Obama wins the victory over raising income tax on the wealthy 2%, then he will see that as a major triumph. It was an election pledge, and he will think, okay, one for the new Gipper. But he's got to give John Boehner something else, hasn't he? He's got to give him a bit of something he can take back to his faithful and say, I got something too.
Yeah, I'm going to start using Gipper more often, too.
I love the word Gipper.
A new Gipper.
I think it's time we call President Obama the new Gipper.
Yes. No, I think he will get his bit there, but I think that he will have to give, absolutely. It's going to be a compromise in the end. And, you know, honestly, this is classic negotiation 101. They're going to wait to the last minute so they can both say to their side, hey, look, we fought this tooth and nail all the way up into the end, and then we got our piece. And so, I mean, it's not surprising. You look at any of the past legislative issues, it always pushes to the last minute because that's how it's done. That's how you keep everybody happy.
And it does seem unbelievably childish, but there we are.
Yes.
It's
and then hopefully some punches and a dance at the end.
I would settle it all with a massive crane-style punch-up, personally.
That's right.
It would be the British way. Margaret Hoover, Marjorie Clifton, thank you both very much indeed. Coming